My next guest is an undefeated featherweight contender, and he trains out of Kill Cliff FC in Florida. And you can catch his next fight on August 23rd when he takes on Shawn Stefanelli at Madison Square Garden on the PFL 2023 playoff undercard. He joins me right now. His name's Alexei Pergande. Alexei, welcome so much, sir. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me, man. It means a lot.
I wanted to first and foremost say I've been tracking your career for some time now. And when I think of elite prospects at 145 pounds, your name is on that list. I consider you one of the top 145-pound prospects in the world. And the PFL, more importantly, has identified that. And they've earmarked people like you, like this young, up and coming, exciting talent. And I wanted to kind of ask you, being a part of this organization, relatively so new into your MMA career, what has that experience been like for you?
Man, it's been amazing. Like having this type of stage and level, like honestly, I thought the nerves would get to me at first. But I really feel like they like I almost felt at home, especially my last fight for sure. Like my last fight, I literally was like just having fun with it the whole time and just being surrounded by some of the greatest fighters in the world and some of the greatest promoters. And you almost like start sometimes even like losing track that you're around all these people and you're like, oh yeah, this is normal, but it's really not for especially someone with only, three professional fights. But yeah, it's been a hell of a ride and I'm super happy that PFL has accepted me and I'm making lots of connections and they seem to like me so far. So
With being in the spotlight so relatively early on in your career, do you have to have like a certain set of like mental discipline or like rigor to kind of like, I don't know if isolate yourself's the right word, but to like just kind of like focus in on the task at hand? Because it's not normal to be somebody your age, like, and then all of a sudden Randy Couture's walking by, Kenny Florian or something like that. Like you're talking about like MMA legends, and they're calling your fight, and that's a little strange. Like when you've done this a handful of times.
yeah, no, I've never had trouble with discipline or managing myself. It's just how I grew up. I just grew up training constantly, and I even feel guilty if I miss like a day of training. It's just like so natural to me. It's like ingrained in my head to just show up, even when I'm not motivated. Just showing up is really the most important part to me. But yeah, I do I have my fanboy moments, with all these legends next to me and all that stuff. But I always remind myself like all these people, they were where I was at some point. They were starting, they had their ups, they had their downs, and them not giving up and them staying disciplined, that got them to where they are now.
In certain respects, you remind me of another featherweight contender that was on my show not that long ago, Lucas Brennan. He's with Bellator MMA.
Mhm.
And he was telling me like one of the cool parts about his MMA journey, and this is something you can identify with. He's like, I was basically able to like kind of skip out on a lot of the smaller regional MMA shows and kind of go right into the show right away. And he's like, it's been cool, but when you make a move like that, there are going to be detractors. There are going to be people that question your skills,
Yeah.
question whether or not you've warranted a spot in such a promotion at such an early on. And I was just kind of curious, um, is that something that puts even a bigger chip on your shoulder to try to like prove to people like, no, I am like the real deal and I'm here for a reason?
I mean, yeah, it's always like I always want to prove myself no matter what promotion I fight in or what fight I'm doing. I always try to prove it to at least to myself that that I live up to the skills that I believe I have. And other people don't really put pressure on me like and honestly, it like makes me happy. Like even my last fight, I was motivated from all the. I was just, I'm probably not supposed to do this, but I was just going through YouTube and looking at all like the predictions and all that. So I actually made a video about it, which is pretty funny. And I was just having a crack of like their predictions and them judging me based off my last fight. And I was just like, okay, you can think of what you want. You can judge me based off my last performance, but I can promise you that every single fight that I do, I'm just gonna keep growing and keep getting better.
And for the record, I think I got a couple downvotes when I put out a video about you calling you an MMA star. I think I got a couple
Really?
down votes. I think I got a couple
Yeah.
of haters that saw that didn't take too kindly to it.
Yeah, no, people, it's normal. People hate for their own reason. Like no one's obviously like they've never met me in the life in their life probably. But it's what people do. It's what people do. They get involved. They have their own like something to make them busy, something to stay busy, something to hate on, something to love on. So it just is what it is. Once more people start knowing you and your name starts getting out there, there's just going to be people that are just not going to like you for some reason. So
You've been with the PFL for a little bit of time, about a year, year and a half or so. And really, the only adversity that I have seen you take on was when you fought Elvis Kielis. I hope I said his name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize to him. He's a tough guy. He's a lot better than what his record indicates. That much is for sure. And this was a battle that you fought out with him. You end up squeaking by him on the cards by a split decision. And I was hoping I could ask you a little bit about that. Were there parts of that fight where you kind of look back on now and you're like, these are like kind of the key lessons I learned in or out of the cage that have helped me evolve into a more complete fighter?
well, I mean, probably I'm never gonna accept a fight being that sick. I'm definitely calling off. If I can't walk the week before the fight, I'm not fighting. That's probably the first lesson I learned. But I'll probably also like just the biggest lesson I learned from that fight is just finding out who I was at heart and knowing that I'm not going to give up. Like I could barely stand in the third round, and he never hit me hard, and my legs were wobbling from exhaustion. And I just like that was that part that made me think like, okay, are you gonna give up? Are you just gonna He even caught me in like a triangle from a omoplata and all this stuff, and I could have just let him submit me, but I was like in my head, I was like, no, you're not anywhere near my level, even though I fought like shit. But I was like, this is my time. Like I'm not gonna let you beat me. I'm not, I'm here to stay. And it just showed me that I can just keep pushing as hard as I can, even when I feel the worst.
You fought Akeem Bashir most recently. You were a heavy betting favorite. I know that a lot of fighters don't pay attention to that type of stuff, but a lot of people, despite the second performance, despite the Kielis fight, they looked at you and they're like, minus 325. That is like a moderate betting favorite. You go in there and you do exactly what it is that I had expected you to do. You go in there and you put this guy away in the very first round. When you look back at like all of that success and adhering to those expectations that are quite lofty, and to be frank, they probably aren't fair to be put on you this early on in your career, but you're going out there and you're crushing it anyway. What is it that how do you evolve and how do you get better when you go out there and do exactly what you had been envisioning to do for the past 8 to 10 weeks?
Man, lots of visualization. I've actually partnered up with a mental health therapy business, and that's been, one of my things, like mentally. There's just so much techniques and so much things that fighters I feel like don't take seriously mentally. And I'm not ashamed to say that take mental therapy. I feel like as a fighter, we do fight with a lot of our issues and our inner demons and all that stuff, and anxiety and whatever it is. But yeah, it's just knowing how to calm your brain down and knowing how to use that adrenaline and how to use that anxiety, towards the cage, towards your opponent. And yeah, I feel like I've been more in control of my feelings and my emotions, and going out there on a big stage under all the lights, I just feel calm, relaxed, and I just do my job. I know I have some of the hardest training in the world with the best gym in the world. And it's to me like going out there, just have that confidence in my back pocket, and I trust myself, I trust my coaches, and that's all I need.
It was a dominant performance, bell to bell, or from the opening bell to when the referee's ripping you off the guy. You went out there, you performed exactly to probably a lot of the expectations that you and your coaches had kind of put out for you. Like, these are things that we want to see you do. By my count, it didn't look like you sustained any damage in your last fight. And when you put away a guy that quickly, was that game plan like, we're going to try to get back on in the fall or at the tail end of summer. Was there like a deliberate plan to kind of get back into the PFL sooner rather than later, or did this fight just kind of materialize on its own?
Yeah, I definitely want to be more active. I feel like I haven't been super active as a young fighter should be. So that's something I'm trying to set as a goal. But I just wanted to stay active and stay in shape and not have one fight a year. I just want to have more than that and more experience and start climbing up the rankings. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I pretty much left the cage, I had, people from PFL coming up to me, matchmakers, like, hey, we want you on, August card. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm down. Let's go.
Can you tell me a little bit about Shawn Stefanelli? This is a guy that has a pretty good following in Pennsylvania. He was a regional champion in Pennsylvania, so in like that whole tri-state area, he's fairly well known. And this fight's happening in New York, so I'm expecting there to be a lot of people that are going to go into Madison Square Garden to watch their guy perform. And when you take into account, the bright lights, a difficult opponent, what like is this a matchup that kind of like gets you up out of bed and makes you want to like put in that extra road work or maybe take it a little bit further? Because I look at this guy and I don't think he's a slouch. I think he's a tough opponent.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna be tough. I already know what to expect from him. I think it's just gonna be heavy grappling, and it's just gonna be me trying to maintain my distance, stuff his takedowns. And obviously, I'm not a bad wrestler myself. I've been wrestling for a long time, and I wrestle still and grapple with some of the best guys in the world. So, to me, I feel like I am better than him at all aspects of the game. It's not me being cocky, just me being honest with myself and from what I've watched and what I've seen. Obviously, he's probably gotten better since then. I expect the best version of him, and I know he's gonna be a tough, and it's gonna be a war. But I'm a finisher. I'm always looking for the finish, so that's what he has to expect from me. I'm just gonna keep coming, keep threatening submissions, keep picking him apart on the feet, whatever it is. I'm just gonna try to hurt him, and then finish the fight like I always do.
I'm talking to Alexei Pergande. You can catch his fight on August 23rd on ESPN when he'll be taking on Shawn Stefanelli in search of his fourth professional victory. And that kind of is a follow up to my next question. A win over this opponent would put you at 4-0. And that is kind of a hell of a year for you to kind of ride off and maybe regroup and do whatever it is that you want to do outside of your fighting life, and then maybe get back ready to go for the 2024 season. But I did kind of want to ask you, like, do you have some specific goals or there's some specific milestones that you kind of have in place for yourself that you would like to kind of check off for this particular fight?
I just want to really, I mean, there's a lot of things I've been working on for this camp leading up to this fight. Um, and I mean, yeah, I have milestones. I don't know if I want to say them right now,
Sure.
but I have my goals for this fight of what I want to prove myself and what I want to prove other people. I can obviously, catch up with you after and tell you if I accomplish those goals or not. But yeah, I have a certain game plan and a certain couple things I want to do, but we'll see how it works out. Fights are unpredictable, and fights are a little bit harder to um, get ready for. I feel like in this lower professional level, when me and him don't really have much fights and much experience in the cage. People can do unpredictable things. So I'm just ready for everything basically.
Fair enough. Before I let you go, I did want to ask you very briefly, just kind of your overall opinion when you look at the PFL Featherweight division. There's a lot of exciting young talent, and that thus far it's been my favorite weight class to watch over the course of this entire season. Is there a fighter or two that you kind of are looking at and you're like, man, I don't know if I'll ever fight this guy or not, but I'm impressed by whoever.
Man, that new guy really impressed me. Pinedo,
Yeah.
yeah, he really impressed me, especially with that Lockney knockout. I was genuinely surprised. Like he actually, one of my teammates from Killcliff, Claudio Poulos, he was in his corner and he was helping him out. But yeah, he was talking a lot. Like Claudio he was telling like me before, like a month or two before, he was like, "Yeah, my friend's gonna be fighting on the same card as you against Brendan." And I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be rough for him." And he was like, "Yeah, it could be, but I really do believe in him, and he has like a lot of experience, and he's super tough." And he was like, "I honestly think he has a good chance." I was like, "All right," like I didn't really believe him, but that kid really showed out, man. That was impressive.
So Pinedo will be going up against Braga in the championship fight that will happen at the very end of the year. Do you have a lean one way or the other for that one?
I'm not sure. Honestly, Braga is a savage too. Like I don't know him, but I fought in the same card as him as well, and just watching him hit mitts and do all this stuff, like that dude has power. And he's super technical in his striking skills, has great calf kicks, great kicks. So yeah, I honestly think that match could be a toss up, but for some reason I think Pinedo is on such just like a roll. I feel like he's just gonna win this tournament. I don't know why. It's just a feeling, but fights aren't predictable. Like it says, they could go either way.
Perfect. Well, I did want to ask you a non-fight related question. Are you an Xbox guy or are you a PlayStation guy? And if so, I'm curious which game you're going to be playing after you're not in a camp anymore and having to worry about fighting for a little bit.
So the answer to that is neither. Actually, I'm a computer gamer. I play
Oh, an
on a computer.
elitist. I see.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I just kind of grew up playing on a computer my whole life. I never really had a console. So yeah, honestly, what would I be playing after this? Maybe trying out some new games next month. I really haven't been gaming in like the past like 8 months, really. Like I haven't really touched my computer. I've just been focusing on fighting and camps and all that stuff. But yeah, it'd be nice to sit down and game, maybe play some Call of Duty, some Warzone, something like that.
Well, I am going to give you a suggestion. I'd recommend that you download Diablo 4. That game is freaking great.
I heard a lot about that game. Yeah, yeah, I'll check it out.
I do not recommend you play it when you have a fight coming up, though.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
definitely get lost for hours on end.
yeah. Yeah, definitely not.
Alexei, I want to give you the final word, sir. If there's any sponsors that you need to talk about, or if there's anyone in your corner that you wanted to thank before I let you go, let's knock it out.
Obviously, shout out to On Your Mind Health Counseling. That they're my mental people. They really help fighters in all mental aspects. So if you guys ever need, they're actually based out of Nashville. So if you guys ever want to check them out, I have a couple posts on my Instagram, so you guys can always look at that. Shout out to my sponsors for this camp, Steve. He has his own UV printing company, all that stuff. So you guys can check him out. It's just been amazing. Like my tattoo sponsor, Bruce, shout out to that guy, amazing. He said he'll give me free tattoos for life. So yeah, shout out to that guy, he's amazing. But yeah, I mean, I thank you to everyone that supports me and supports you and whatever what you're running. So yeah, just thank you to everyone who's watching. And yeah, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, make sure you do, Alexei Pergande. And yeah.
Perfect. Well, I am looking forward to watching you fight next week. All of Alexi's contact information will be in the description for this video. Make sure you check that out. Alexi, I wish you the best of skill next week, sir.
Thank you so much, my man. Thank you so much for having me on this interview.